Okay, welcome back to the Death Toll Shop. We are going to make our truss today, and it is going to be really simple. There's nothing complicated about what we're doing. Our obstacles are super simple, so it's not going to be a challenging project at all. The reason you need to do a brace, and it's especially important when you're doing these, and the taller your arms would be, the more you would need a brace, because this is basically a lever on the coilover to twist your frame, to bend it. So right now, if our coilover was pushing straight up and down, which it doesn't do, it pushes at an angle, but just for simplicity, if it was pushing straight up and down, it would try to roll the frame out on both sides. It would try to roll the frame out. And would it bend it? Probably not, but it probably will fatigue it and crack it eventually. Which obviously isn't good. Plus, you don't have control. There's no shock absorbers or anything on your frame. So you want all your suspension in your suspension. You don't want that in flex and twist and everything else on the car. So we need to basically just tie these two together. Our coilover is going in at an angle like that, which is pretty common. I mean, it is common. They don't really want you putting them perfectly straight. They want you at an angle, but not too much of an angle, or it side loads the shock. But being at an angle, it actually helps the scenario. It's a benefit for that twist, because normally it would want to twist out, but if you angle the coilovers in, it'll still probably want to twist out, but it won't want to twist out as dramatically as it would if they were straight. In this scenario, if you put the ears on the other side, if this were on the inside and it was pushing on that side, it's going to try to twist the frame the other way. If you could be directly underneath that, then it would probably push straighter. But if you're at an angle, anyway, there's all sorts of scenarios. You just got to really think about when something's pushing on that. If you were to put a cylinder in there, hold the car together and push really hard, what would happen? It would twist the frame out in this scenario. And so to prevent that from happening, we're just going to build our brace. And it doesn't need to be super duper strong. It needs to be somewhat rigid more than anything. It doesn't need, if you have tubing and stuff, it's not going to need to be like quarter wall or anything too ridiculous like that. But if it were straight, it could be really thin. When you start going at angles like we're doing, you're going to want to gusset it so that it doesn't just put all the load and just bend right at where you miter it, or if you have a tubing bender and bend it, it doesn't just can't bend it right there. So you'll want to gusset it because you don't want your bends taking any load, and then it really doesn't do much good if you don't. So. Anyway, so we're going to use 1.5 inches. I was originally going to use 2 inch. We're going to use 1.5 inches, eighth wall. We're going to weld pads on, 3/8 thick pads. We're going to drill and tap through our towers. We're going to remember to drill a drain hole just in case water gets in there. We don't fill them up, and we're in freezing. So if this car were actually outside where it would freeze and that filled with water, that would explode. Water will break anything. It doesn't matter how thick it is. I don't know how thick you'd have to be, but 1/4 inch wall tubing stands no chance against water freezing in it. So anyway, we'll drill a hole there, and then we're gonna weld the pad on, drill and tap it. We're gonna build our brace. It's just gonna come up and over. It's gonna go right in between here. This hose is probably gonna be like that, and that's just the PCV valve. So it's gonna go right over there like that. Really simple. We got gussets for the corners. So I'm gonna get going on cutting some plate and some tubing, and we're gonna get going on this. Just 45-degree angles is all we're doing. 45 and then straight across, 45 down. Should be really simple. All right, on your marks, get set, go. Here we go. So that was 2 inch flat bar, 3/8 thick, and I'm gonna drill them in pairs. I'm just gonna drill them with 5/16. So that we have, that's the pilot drill for a 3/8 bolt. So we're going to end up using 3/8 bolts on it, 3/8 16. So we just drill the pilot, drill them in pairs, and I'm gonna weld them on like that, and then we'll use those holes in the bar to drill through the top of the towers there, and then we'll just tap them together. So after I get done welding, we'll do that. Now we just bolted the plates on that will be welded to our brace. We bolted them on, and I used a straight edge to figure out exactly where I wanted it. And then I took it all back off of there, and we're going to weld them on the bench. now that I know that they'll fit once it's all together. So we're going to weld it up on the bench, and then a TIG weld the tubing, and then we'll go ahead and we'll probably just MIG weld the gussets onto it. All right, now that I got those done, we just nipped the corners off of our gussets, set them onto our pads that are still bolted on, and I'll tack it on, take it off, and we'll weld the pads on. And that'll be it. We'll just clean it up and get it on there, and we have a brace. All right, so there it is. That turned out super good. I was gonna like kind of geek out on why those gussets are so important on distributing load and stuff, and I don't think people really care that much. But in the end, what you're trying to do is when you're pushing and pulling, trying to keep this from just bowing up and down, which is what would happen without that gusset. And then you're putting all the load around your weld on that joint. I mean, even if that was just bent there, all the load would still be in that same spot. And this gusset helps distribute it. So that's where I'll end there. I am not happy with the way these look, but I'm not going to do anything about it. I think they look stupid. I think it's because they're built out of such heavy wall tubing. And it just doesn't, it looks out of place. But whatever, it is what it is. I think maybe once it's painted, and anything with coilovers bolted to it looks cool, so once those are on there, it'll probably look all right. But the more I look at them, the dumber they look, so I'll stop looking at them. Anyway, so we got a lot of cool stuff going on. A lot of cool stuff. So we're gonna start doing brakes, and that's gonna be fun. That's like finishing touch stuff, but it is fun running brake lines and some bending brake lines. And when you do it real nice, if you take your time doing it, I like doing that. We got brakes. We got an aluminum battery box we're gonna make for it, and get that in. We got a ton of sheet metal work to start doing on the inside and doghouse and all that stuff to make, and then. For the old tow truck, the 87 Ford, the military, the World War II one, that thing, I got a motor for it. So we're gonna start putting that motor together. It's another 460, and then we got the ZF5. We're gonna convert the truck to a 5-speed. We're gonna shoot for mid 400s horsepower on it. And in the upper 9s compression ratio. I want that thing when we pull into a car show to people, look, you know, that's what I want. Do we need that kind of power? Not really. But I want it that way. So, and that's just a look. It already has stainless headers and exhaust and Flowmasters and stuff on it. So you put some pop to it, it's going to sound real cool. And then that 5-speed is just going to make a world of difference. So we got that project going on. We're doing research. I'm actually looking for a set of heads. The heads that came on it, it was basically a crate motor. But the heads that came on it aren't very good heads, so we're gonna try to upgrade the heads. I want to find a set of like 68 to 71 heads, 460 heads for it. So if we can, 72 cc heads, 74 cc heads, whatever they are. Anyway, so we got that going on. So if you're a Ford guy or big block Ford guy, that'll be a cool episode. I build anything. I don't care what it is. I'll build whatever is clever. It doesn't matter to me. So I like things with engines, and I like things with wheels or tracks or stuff like that. So I'll build whatever is around, and the 460s are good motors. So it's pretty easy to get some horsepower out of them. Kind of amazingly easy, actually. So anyway, that being said, thanks for watching. I think next will be some brake line stuff.